Welcome to episode 79 of the AskShell.com podcast. We are answering emails from homeowners like yourself who have submitted questions through AskShell.com. Shell has answered all of your emails either by phone or email back to you specifically, and we have selected certain ones for the podcast with myself and Shell. Myself is Morgan, and Shell, Happy New Year,
betcha.
Shell.
We take care of it, and Happy New Year to you and everyone out there in the internet world. Happy New Year. All the best. May it be a profitable one, and may it be a healthy one.
Yes, and I noticed that you've got the beard going.
Oh yeah, I got the little goatee going there.
Christmas,
well, actually, there's a little story behind this that the grandsons are involved in curling,
right?
And I started growing it during the era of Bondsfield. So with that going on, another one this weekend, I thought I better not shave it off yet.
Keep it going.
Keep her going.
Keep that streak going.
Keep that streak going. Incidentally, I want to congratulate the Sato team. That's the Sato team. And the Sato team, they came fourth in the provincials, so they're the fourth best in the juniors in British Columbia.
Wow, that's
so congratulations again, guys. It's a super presentation.
Great accomplishment to Team
really
Sato.
Is. Yep.
On this week's podcast, we are going to have our question by Tony Gioventu. He has given us the question and the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Topics we're going to talk about, the cold weather. We've had a really cold snap out here in the Lower Mainland in British Columbia, and we know you're all used to it back in the prairie provinces, so we'll talk about cold weather and power outages. We know we're getting a few of those.
Yeah.
Emails that I would like to get to today. Animal odor under hardwood flooring. Insulating joists. Kitchen sink drain backs up. Asbestos concern. And a steel entry door yellowing. And we also want to talk about chipping up your old Christmas trees.
You got
Those are real Christmas trees, not the plastic ones.
Not the plastic ones, the make-believe ones.
Yes, I went home to Kitwanga for Christmas, and we went to the U-Cut Christmas tree lot right after I got picked up from the airport.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a saw in the truck.
You mean you say you had to have your own saw?
You had to have your own saw.
My
drove
goodness.
into this place, and you could see the field full of trees, but luckily the guy had 3 cut right by the gate there, so we just threw it in the back and went.
By God, you should have had a Joe Beaver along.
Yeah. Just let him start gnawing on some trees and go at it. But yeah, we had a real Christmas tree back home. We don't do the plastic ones.
Nope, not in Kitwanga. Now you got everybody's interest. Where is Kitwanga?
It is in northwestern BC, about an hour east of Terrace along Highway 16, the junction to go up to Stewart or Dease Lake.
Yeah.
So it can be a
beautiful country. Beautiful country.
Yes, it was a little chilly up there, minus 20 the whole time, but we bear through it.
I'll tell you right now, keep it up there.
Okay, keep it up there. Well, we've been having it down here. First email for you, Shell.
Yo.
Animal odor under hardwood. Hi, Shell. When we moved in, we removed carpeting in the hallway and bedroom and replaced it with engineered hardwood. We assumed that would also resolve the animal urine odor that came with the house. 2 years later, we are still trying to eliminate this odor. It must be trapped between the hardwood and the subfloor. Can you suggest a way to neutralize the odor without removing the hardwood? Thanks, Harry.
Well, Harry, you've got a bit of a problem, but hopefully that we can solve that problem by using a product called Deodor Rock. And Deodor Rock comes in a powder. And the idea is that if you had this same problem on carpet, then you would actually spread it out on the carpet in the area where the odor is emitting from. And then you very simply leave that for 48 hours, and then you vacuum it up. You vacuum it up with a new bag in your vacuum cleaner, because the nice thing about Deodor Rock, Morgan, you can use it again. Right. It never wears out. When you vacuum it up into the clean vacuum bag, then you empty that into a paper bag and put it outside somewhere where it won't get wet, and it'll gas itself off, gas those odors off. So what you will require to do is use the Deodor Rock powder, but put that on your hardwood flooring. You spread it out on the hardwood flooring, won't harm it, but you got to leave it alone. You can't have people walking over it, or dogs walking over it, or kitty cats walking over it, or anything like that, because it is a granular material. But it actually draws the odor out from between the tongue and groove of your laminate flooring, or in your case, the engineered flooring. So I only hope that the flooring that you have is flooring that was never glued to the actual substrate. Okay, that's your subfloor. In most cases, they're glued at the tongue and groove. So it's a base floating system glued at the tongue and groove on top of a pad. So let's hope that that's what you got. Now, had you called us first, had you called me first, you would have had the information that you would take a product called Kills. Kills is a primer paint, and you would prime and mask that odor into the plywood. So you would prime the plywood anywhere there was a dog stain. Let that cure, and then you proceed with the padding and the application of the hardwood engineered flooring. It's just that easy. But if in doubt, don't pout. Let Shell help you out. Goodness sakes alive. Okay,
right.
But
the animal urine will not just stay in the carpet; it will soak into that plywood.
Oh yeah, it definitely will. And the thing is now, hopefully, they have the product floating on top of that floor, so the odor, and it sounds to me as though it is, because it is obviously still emitting the odor, but I should have, and I do recall this when I did answer this by email, and I did not get any answer back as to one way or the other, but it's a heads up for anyone that's putting down laminate flooring, any type of laminate flooring or engineered flooring on top of a surface that has had animal urine.
Right.
Okay, cat, dog, or whatever. Okay, so heads up.
And we do sell Deodor Rock here at our South Surrey showroom, unit number 7, 2320 King George Boulevard in South Surrey, White Rock. Or you can call us 604-542-2236, and we can give you information on ordering. And it does come in blocks as well for drawers or cupboards or
Right.
even closets.
Absolutely.
And you can gas those off and reuse those as well.
Yep.
So a lot of people buy 2 and then just keep rotating them.
Keep rotating them. Yep.
Next email. Hi, Shell. On one of your shows, you talked about insulating band joists, and I believe you recommended spray foam. You didn't go further to mention perhaps having to put a thermal or ignition barrier. In particular, I'm thinking of areas of the basement that are unfinished or have a suspended ceiling. Do you have any suggestions for this? Thanks, Brenda.
Well, certainly, Brenda, when you are dealing with a suspended ceiling system off a wire down onto your hanging grid, then I would be suggesting, first and foremost, you can put the insulation on top of the grid, number one. So what you do, you put your drop-in panels, and then you put your insulation in on top, and you only use a spray foam between the joists as they go over top of the wall on the plate. And that's where you spray and you stop the air that's going to obviously be able to be attracted to that cold temperature between the joists on the outside rim. So that way the foam is taking and giving you the insulation. The insulation on top of the grid, after you put your panel in, you can lay your rock salt insulation, for example, up on top of that, or any one of your glass fiber installations. And then I would highly suggest, if you haven't already bought your ceiling panels, then consider buying half-inch drywall. That way you can paint the half-inch drywall, whatever color it is that you want. If it's white, it's white. If it's another color, then you can do so. And drop those panels into place, giving you that fire rating as well on your ceiling. So drywall painted with an acrylic latex exterior or interior paint, insulation on top with at least an R, I'd be putting an R20 minimum, and then on top of that, the rim joist with the foam. That way you're going to find you're going to get a sound barrier as well between the lower level and the upper level, and also the fire barrier. So that's a great way to do it, and more reasonable price-wise, inexpensive compared to using the drop-in ceiling panels.
Right.
Yep.
Next email. Hello, Shell. My problem is my kitchen sink upstairs. In the last 2 weeks, the sink, when we use it, backs up and does not drain. I mean, it does drain, but it takes a long time to actually drain. I've taken a 25-foot snake in both the outside vent and the clean-out hole and came up clean. I have also taken the drain off from the sink and cleaned it. Also, it was clean. My washing machine does not drain properly and leaves about an inch of water in the bottom. When it does drain, it makes a gurgling sound. My vent that goes to the outside of the house was installed by the previous owner, and I left it that way. I did redo the plumbing as what you see and added the clean out as well as the P-trap having a clean out. The vent outside is 1.5 inch PVC pipe and the main drain is a 2 inch or a 2.5 inch. Am I getting enough venting? Can I add an inline vent or an air admittance valve between the P-trap and the main drain? All other sinks, toilets, bathtubs do not have a draining problem, just the kitchen sink upstairs and the dishwasher. The file that I'm sending with this question is the picture where I would like to install the inline vent or air admittance valve to maybe help with my drainage problem. I will send another picture to show how I redid my plumbing. Thank you, Lorenzo. And that brings up a good point. We can now submit pictures through askshell.com when you send in your emails. So you can take a picture with your smartphone, send it to us. So we got a bit more of a view of what your problem is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would actually, again, going back to this one, I do recall the answer to this being given, and it's a good one because especially in the very cold climates and also even in greater Vancouver, with our normal, people say banana belt weather during the winter months, and it certainly hasn't been this year. We've had some very abnormal weather, and in fact, they're setting records everywhere. But you will get, in a number of cases, you'll get freeze up within your vent stacks. And say, for example, you got a nice warm shower or a nice hot bath, and when you drain the water, that warm water goes down, the steam will go up the vent stack, and if it is slowed down because of different elbows in place in order to get the vent to the roof line, you will get freeze up. And when you do get freeze up, then obviously you're going to run into that problem. Putting in the booster vents into the inline units, which are in some cases approved by some plumbing inspectors, and other areas they're not. So you want to check on that to make sure, because if you ever get a backup, those will flood out in the wall, and you could have a problem there, especially if you had a drain from a bathtub or a shower from up above the area where you're having the slow drain. But my suggestion to you here would be to be very cautious. Make sure your drains are full in the trap area. So many people today, they've got tubs, showers that are not used all the time. And only from time to time, somebody will be in that particular bathroom, if there's a shower, and they'll use that shower. Well, now you got water in the form of warm water, and it's going to be venting, and it could freeze, and it could be another stack. Could be another stack somewhere else on the roof. It's not necessarily right above where you're going to have your shower or your bathtub. So in the cold, frigid, multi temperatures as far as double digit below 0 Celsius, it's cold. And when that goes up that stack and vents, it could freeze over, and that way you'll get the gurgling sound in your trap. So be on the lookout for that sort of thing happening, and it does happen. And in fact, some B vents for your furnace and your hot water tank will even freeze up, or icicles on your high efficiency furnaces on the exhaust stack. So all these things are very, very relevant to the weather conditions at times, or especially when you say you got a 25-foot snake, and that 25-foot snake may be going down, you may be going to another area where there is no problem. So it's not unusual to have 2 or 3 items venting in the same stack. So be on the lookout for that, and if not, when in doubt, don't pout. Hey, get your plumber to help you out.
Funny how that makes sense. We are talking about the colder weather. We have a cold snap here in the Lower Mainland. We want to remind people keep your sidewalks clear in front of
yeah.
your house. You are responsible for that. We've had some mayhem with the salt, picking
Yeah.
up salt around
Can
here.
you believe it?
Yeah, they're lining up for hours, and people are selling it on the internet for making profit for free salt. I don't know what some people's problems are, but do you have any other tips for cold weather? What they should be doing?
Just my tip is, if you are a person that has got mobility concerns, stay indoors. Use your friends, your family, and always check with your buddy system in the event of what it is like outside. Otherwise, the busing system that's set up in a lot of the metro areas will take care of that. But be careful. There's nothing worse than a fall after you slip on ice, because it's not the fall that hurts. It's a sudden stop.
Right. And maybe have some water on hand just in case the power does go out at this time of year. That could maybe last you a couple of days worth of water. Keep that storage.
Absolutely.
Good time to have that year round.
Keep in mind, when the power goes off, you've always got water.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a matter of keeping it hot. If you're going to have a hot coffee, you're going to have to boil it. So there's a lot of, I heard a good one this morning on the morning news, and it was that, we only prepare for earthquakes when we had an earthquake take place.
Or someone else, or was in another region of the...
But when it comes to winter, we never think of winter because we don't get that much winter in Greater Vancouver. Mm-hmm. Well, here we are, folks. So plan ahead.
You are listening to episode 79 of the AskShell.com podcast. We are answering emails from homeowners who have submitted their emails to us. And we want to remind people, if you need to get rid of your old Christmas tree, the real Christmas tree,
real one,
look for in your area. There are usually people doing fundraisers in the South Surrey area, Cloverdale. We have got the Urban Safari Rescue Society on Saturday, January 7th. Mm-hmm. All day up to 5 p.m. you can drop off your trees and have them chipped up. They are also accepting cans from holiday parties that you might have left around your house. Their address is at...
Cans of food
or empty bottles, they said as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Any empty bottles that you want to recycle, they will take those. Their address is 1395 176th Street in Surrey. That is on the way down to the border crossing on 176th Street.
Right on.
So do something good with your Christmas tree and support a good cause in your area. There's got to be somebody chipping up Christmas trees in your area.
You bet.
Next email, Asbestos Concern. Hi, Shell. My home was built in 1954 with a gravity furnace. In 2003, I had it removed and updated to a mid-efficiency forced air. At the time, all of the old ducting was removed and replaced with new, with the exception of a square section that was in too awkward of a space to remove. This old square duct feeds a downstairs room. What was done was the new duct was just fed into the end of this square old duct. I recently tried to have a local company come and clean my ducts. They would not do so as this piece of square duct has asbestos wrap and they did not want to disturb it. My question is it okay to leave well enough alone? This duct will not be an issue if I do not disturb it. Or can I spray it with, for example, a rubber spray compound to prevent fibers from shredding? I had a hazardous material company look at it, and I cannot afford what they wanted to do to deal with it, which was encase it in some type of rubber. Thank you very much for your advice, Shell. I miss your Saturday morning radio show. Neil from Edmonton.
Well, Neil, you're missing something that was very good. I have to say so myself. But, life goes on, and we are still making ourselves available through the internet as we are now. And I am getting a lot of activity with our grandsons on the weekends where I wasn't before. So therefore, we take we take 1 and 2 and we balance them. And here we are doing the internet podcast for you. But in any event, thank you very much for the comments. Appreciate it. On the Asbestos Concern, what I would suggest you do is get yourself a mask, a breathing mask, and you can get them at your paint stores, like your Cloverdale paint stores, your Rona stores, etc. And take a can of aerosol, and you want to use a water-based aerosol acrylic latex, okay, and spray that, okay. Make sure that you are using a spray that is not flammable, because obviously you do have a hot water tank there, you do have your furnace there as well. and you want to have that off. But in any event, you just spray it. That masks in anything of any disturbance of the asbestos. As far as disturbing it, if you disturb it, then obviously there's a concern. If you don't disturb it, it's been there for how many years now? Since 1954. So use a sealer. You can do it yourself. It's not necessary to have it done by the companies. If you're taking the entire system out yourself, then the different parties within your WorkSafe province will give you instructions on how to go about that. And also, you can go to the website WorkSafe BC, for example, and they've got all the information there. Okay, so it's just that easy, but I do realize there's a lot of people concerned about it in flooring and all the rest of it, but hey, flooring, it's not going to jump out of flooring. You can go over top of flooring with other flooring, and all the flooring companies have that information available. It's just that easy.
Good stuff. Last email for you, Shell, before we get to Tony Gioventu's strata or condo question of the week. Dear Shell, the plastic vinyl frame around the glass inserts on my steel entry door are oozing sticky stuff, and the outside plastic vinyl frame has turned yellow in color. I would appreciate any information or suggestion on how to repair or replace the above. If the yellow plastic vinyl frame can be painted, or does it need to be replaced? How to caulk to replace the oozy sticky stuff. The front door is very cold in the wintertime. What types of tools and materials to use for the DIY project? I really look forward to your response. Thank you, Tip.
Well, Tip, that's a real good one, because I can never understand why people would paint doors, exterior steel doors, or even any one of the fiberglass doors, without painting the trim around the glass. And I know it looks nice and white in most cases. In some cases, it's kind of a beigey color. But if it's white, it'll turn beige. But what that requires is when you paint the door, paint the trim. Now, the oozing material, that's the butyl caulking, B-U-T-Y-L. And that is a caulking that never hardens or never sets. So therefore, it will, especially on a west elevation or south elevation of the home, get quite hot in the summertime, and they'll start oozing out. What you do very simply is take a putty knife and scrape what you can off, and then take contact cement solvent on a cloth and wipe the residual off that's left after you scrape the oozing off. Then, on a good morning, dry, not in the hot sun, apply a coat of paint on the trim. It's just that easy. Use acrylic latex, no oil-based, no solvent-based, exterior acrylic. That way, you'll never have a problem again. Now you can mask the glass, mask on the door, to save yourself from getting any of the paint that you're painting on the trim on the door or on the glass. It's just that easy. But I know I see it all the time, Morgan. Driving by new complexes, and they got the door all painted and finished beautifully, and they haven't done a doggone thing with the trim.
Right.
So
You're
on the
supposed
south,
to paint the trim.
on the south or the west elevation, it's bad news if you don't.
Right. Excellent.
There's one other question I wrote down, actually.
You wrote down your own question.
I wrote down a question today because I was talking to a lady with regards to she was having a terrible time with dust in her home.
Okay.
Every time she'd go to the windowsill or top of the TV cabinet, there would be dust. And what it is, I asked the question, do you have laminate flooring? No, but I have engineered flooring. I said, okay, engineered flooring. Is it floating? What do you mean by floating, she says. I said, is it glued together at the tongue and groove and lying on top of an underpad? Yes, that's the way it is. It's not glued to the subfloor. And I said, well, every time you walk across that floor, it's like the bellows that you used to have when you would get the fire going in the fireplace.
Yeah, we used to have those.
Every time you walk across the floor, that whoosh comes out on the baseboards, and that dust is in the air. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you keep walking on, it goes, whoosh, sucks it in, whoosh, again. So you're going, whoosh, 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 and all that dust is going up into the home. And she said, well, how can I stop it? And I said, well, the way you can stop it is caulk along there and use a caulking the color of your baseboard. If it's white, use white. Now, if you want to prove that that is where it's coming from, take a damp white towel, just damp, not wet, damp, and lay it along an area. And pick it up after a couple of days and watch. What you will see will be dust all along that line where you laid it next to the baseboard. So there you have it, folks. We check, we find, we get the answers for you. But that is exactly what happens, and it's a very common inquiry. Very common. I get it so often. And I know that really opens the eyes of the homeowner, but hey, it's the experience that brings it on.
Especially if the homeowner is going from carpet to hardwood.
Absolutely.
Then it's a real eye-opener about how much dust is in your home and how often you have to.
Well, you know, that's a good point, because she even brought up they took carpet up to put the engineered flooring down thinking that this is going to be the answer to all. Actually, carpet is one of the cleanest types of flooring that you can have. And the reason why, because it retains the dust.
Yeah.
That's why you constantly are vacuuming, and they have the beaters on the bar of the vacuum cleaner to beat the dust out. But it retains it, whereas dust in a floor that is hardwood or laminate, it stays right there. You can see it on the floor.
And if you keep your carpet clean with the vacuum, it can last for many years.
Years and years and years. Yeah, absolutely. They'll come out one day with carpet that looks like wood.
Really?
I'm sure they have it now in the commercial end, but for homes. Yeah. Because there's a lot of condominiums now that have a lot of noise that transfers from above down below.
Yeah.
So they want to get into something that's going to be more resilient. Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions that I have submitted from homeowners to you, Shell. But we do have our condo question of the week from Tony Gioventu, who is the executive director of CHOA. That's the Condominium Home Owners Association here in BC. So here is the question submitted to Tony. I will read that, and then I'll let you read Tony's answer.
You betcha.
Dear Tony, our strata council is having a number of problems with our elevator company, and we need some help. Back in 2012, our council signed a new agreement for servicing and maintenance. The standard agreement was for a 10-year period. Our council have been trying to terminate the agreement, but have been told the cost of the legal services or a lawsuit is not worth the effort, and the company has told us if we cancel, they will sue. There must be a solution. We have weekly calls for repairs, shutdowns, and people getting stuck in the elevators. The company responds, but in a building of seniors, we cannot be without our elevator for 48 hours every time they break down. The company is not providing accurate reporting of what they are doing. We have no way of knowing whether they are replacing parts or doing a minimal job. Why would council members stick us in these contracts? Gerald in North Vancouver.
Well, Gerald, that is a very a good inquiry, and I know that Tony Gioventu was very much aware of the type of concern that you have, and he definitely, when I was talking with him, he brought up the fact of the tribunal. And the tribunal is a part of now the Strata Act that will help you in a much lesser cost way to your strata. So he says, Gerald, many of the service contracts strata councils sign are extremely complicated to understand and intentionally weighted in the favor of the service provider. Unfortunately, most strata councils are volunteers who do not understand the agreements they are signing when contracting for services of this nature. A contract is an agreement, either written, verbal, or implied, where one party provides a service or product and the other party agrees to pay them for those services and products and the rates set out in the contract or that they agree to pay. So either service arrangements, agreements, or what they agree to pay in the first place under the contract. Companies routinely send a representative who makes a good promotion and hands over a contract that is claimed to be a standard agreement. And that's what you got to be very careful of, standard agreement. Or the property manager puts an agreement in front of them at a council meeting, and the strata rely on the manager to assure them the contract is fair. Question everything. There is no such thing as a standard service contract for maintenance. There you have it right there. Companies. Companies may create boilerplate contracts and call them standard contracts, but everything is up for negotiation. A fair contract includes a clear description of the services, products, and fees, and will address disagreements and or procedures for termination. Before you sign any service agreements, consider spending a few dollars on a legal review. The cost is generally under $2,000, and your strata could have avoided such a broad contract that runs for 10 years and left them no ability to solve the problems or move to a better service provider. According to Sat Hardwood, a Vancouver lawyer who addresses contract issues for strata corporations, the fundamental problem with entering into a 10-year service agreement is that it hinders a strata corporation's ability to seek multiple competitive quotes in the face of every increasing repair costs. Before your strata signs their next contract, apply a simple test. And here you are. Do you understand the services or products that are being provided? 2. Who is paying for any materials or supplies? 3. What is the quality of products that are being used? 4. Are they new or reconditioned? 5. Is the company providing the service or subcontracting to someone else? 6. How long will the contract run? 7. How can we terminate the contract? 8. Is there an option for arbitration in the event of a conflict? Number 9. Do we understand how the cost of materials and fees for services are applied? As most strata councils say, they were so nice when they came to our meeting. Protect your investment and get legal advice before you sign. And really, folks, they can be really nice up until that contract is signed. And then look out. That's when the trap gets the cheese. So be careful. Be defensive. Put yourself on the defense. Have them come out and explain it to you. That way you will know. It's just that easy. Thank you, Tony Gioventu, again, for questions that come to me regarding strata councils.
Yes, let's hope that helps a few of you out there if you had questions about contracts with your maintenance. That's it, Shell. We've come to the end of episode 79 of the AskShell.com podcast. To have your email answered in episode 80, submit it to us through AskShell.com. Like we said, you can include pictures now of your problem at home. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell your family, and tell them to listen to the AskShell.com podcast. Shell, we'll talk to you next week.
You betcha we will there, Morgan. And keep in mind, folks, we answer all emails. They don't all get on the podcast, but we answer them all. That way you get the answers. And if you are one that has a question that really is important to bring to the audience that we have, over 25,000 people out there, then we want them to know. That's why we select them. That's why Morgan selects them and puts them on. It's just that easy. Until next week, as you know, we love you all. Bye-bye for now.